I'll tell you why. I'm not the biggest proponent of marriage,
No, I can tell.
and but my situation is a little bit different. I did want to get married, but at that time I was in a different place in my life. But now, and I hate to say it, but now, if you make a little bit of money, your life changes a little bit, and you see things differently. And what I've noticed is, the little bit more of money you make, the harder it is to trust people because you don't quite know why they're there and what they want from you. And it's very difficult to sort of dissect the person and try to understand what are you really here for. And I find it most times most of the difficulty comes with women and dating women. What do they actually want? Why are you actually here? Do you like me for me? Which is why I have a 10 free date challenge. And I've never been able to get through 10 free dates. I've got to the third date, and then the hypergamy kicks in, and the woman wants to know, okay, when are you going to spend some money on me?
Woo.
At some point in time, it's going to kick in. When do
Wow.
you want to spend some money, man? I have 10 dates. I have this. It's on the notes in my phone, and I have 10 dates, and we always start with at the park, or if she has a dog, we'll do a doggy day, something that doesn't cost any money, and I'm doing it on purpose.
Right.
It's on purpose because are you here to actually get to know me, or are you here because you're trying to see whether or not I can be your sugar daddy? Which one are you trying to figure out here? So for me, marriage is just not one of those things, and especially so here's one of my biggest gripes, SB, because I'm not against marriage. I do think that marriage is a better option, just like Passport Bros. I think it's a better option, but I'm not completely sure it's the solution, right? But it is the best option. For me, where I struggle with this is I haven't found one thing that marriage gives that I can't get in another way, right? Like everything that maybe I would get out of being married to a woman, I could outsource it. I could literally pay somebody to do it for me, right? So I don't quite understand what benefit I would get from it, right? But I do know that I have friends that are going through divorces right now, and we had one that we were dealing with a few days ago because he was on deletion watch because he just couldn't take the stress of going through a divorce after finding out how much alimony he's going to wind up paying. So I don't quite understand why I would put myself in that situation, but I do understand that there has to be a positive in it. And it's one of the reasons why I watch you because you have experience. You've done this for a while. So I'm hoping one day SB is going to say something and I'm going to go, ah, that's why I need to get married. Okay, cool. Now that makes sense, right? Because if you're not overly spiritual and overly religious, right, then and you take that aspect out of it, I don't quite exactly know what do I need it for, right? I don't need it to take care of my daughter. My daughter has a trust that's set up. She's good. She's set. She's good. I don't need it to take care of the people that I love. I have life insurance and they're beneficiaries on it. They're going to be fine if anything happens to me. I don't I don't need it to do anything. And the tax benefits, well, once you file jointly, you can never go back. So you're stuck. So, and I would never file jointly anyway. So I don't quite understand where it comes. But I watch you because it's sort of the way your message comes across, and I appreciate it because I really am. I'm holding on, going. She's gonna one day. She's gonna say something. I'm gonna go. That's it. That's why I need to go find a wife. Okay, cool. Now it's clear to me. Now I can go find a wife. But until then, you're watching a whole bunch of people. I've listened to Anton talk. I've listened to a lot of people talk, and it hasn't clicked for me. This is why you need to get married.
So listen, I'm gonna go back to the beginning of what you said, and you're exactly right, moving the way that you are, in my opinion. And I say that because my husband has always been an entrepreneur. He came into the relationship with a plan. It was not fulfilled, but he's been an entrepreneur. That was always his plan. He sold me on it from the very beginning. But one thing he told me is this: he said, if I wouldn't have met you now, once I became successful, I don't know if I could have met a woman or gotten married because it's just like what you said. It's that trust issue. Right now, I would say my husband and I trust each other to the max. I mean, we do because we actually build together. He sold me on his plan of an entrepreneur. I could have worked a job and been just fine. He was like, no, no, we got to work smart. This is what we're going to do. So I've been pretty much following his plan for our life, our entire 27 years. There has been times in between where I made much more money than his business has ever made. And what I always did was board it back and put it in one pot. Never argued, never thought about it twice because it was always we were building together. Now, what is going to have to happen for you in order for you to see the need for a wife is that I definitely think it's a spiritual thing because you definitely can get sex from anyone. But the one thing that my husband tells me often is that I'm an asset to him. I proved to him that I was an asset. And along with the fact that men who are married are more successful, it kind of goes hand in hand. The love and the nurturing that I give my husband, you cannot pay for.
Dearly beloved.
You can't. You can't pay for it. You can't. All that worldly stuff that we have to contend with, far as the taxes and all that, no. But you are a man that's already made, so a prenuptial agreement would be something that you definitely would have to seek after. I mean, I wouldn't. You got to. But what you're looking for is that woman that is submissive and that is willing to submit to you. So you are looking for a woman of God, whether you're there or not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that woman that's willing to submit to that man that has a plan and will to follow you on your plan and to show you love. It's actually real love and respect. And it's sacrificial. It goes beyond physical. It's deeper than that. It's she's willing to put herself, or excuse me, willing to put you before herself. It's a very sacrificial thing, and I can't nobody just do that. You can't pay for it.
No, you no,
Um,
you're absolutely right. One of my key vetting things is try to find out how selfless she is. And I asked certain questions because one of the 10 dates is to go volunteer. That's one of the 10 free dates. We go and go volunteer somewhere. One of the reasons why I'm constantly at the grocery store is because I still have people that I mentor when I was a police officer. So, but they're out here where I live at. So we meet here, and every once or twice a week, I meet up with 13 and 14-year-old boys, and we just talk. We just shoot the crap. Just let them vent, let them get it out, and then I give advice where advice is needed and whatnot. So that's one of the reasons why you see me here when I stop in. And one of my 10 free dates is for her to go volunteer. One of the reasons why to do that is because I'm trying to see if she's willing to give more of herself than she gets from it. And that's a big deal to me because a lot of the relationships I was in the past, it was always about them and what they could get out of it. What can
yeah.
I get out of it? What can you do for me? And not about what can you give to the relationship and help build this thing. Because that's my mentality. Once I get into something, even when if it's business, whatever, it's not necessarily it's not about me anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not about me anymore. But I mean, it would be nice to do. But I do also have an issue with the idea that marriage isn't business because I don't see how it's not.
Okay, I'll tell you about that. But let me say hello to my co-host. Hey, black man, take care of that family out there tonight. Thank you for your support. So let me tell you, there are a lot of parts of my marriage that are business. Like I said, my husband and I are entrepreneurs. We're in business together. He's 51%, I'm 49%. This is so true. But the feeling, I'm going to say feeling, or the emotion, the attachment, the covenant, the promise to be with my husband, the commitment, the faithfulness that I have to him is not business in any way. Because if it was business, I would be gone a long time ago. I would have selfishness would have kicked in, and all those years that I made more money, I would have put it in. I'd have had that little separate stash like women do. They say they don't want to let your
Hmm.
right hand know what your left hand doing. I would have,
Hmm.
conducted myself that way, but I chose not to because my husband is a real husband. He's a real man that is God fearing, and I wanted to be a wife. I really did. So I studied on how to do that. I also studied my husband, which I think a real wife would study men, which would be her husband. It's a book called Power of a Praying Wife, and it has different men in it. And it outlines their personality and how you're supposed to respond to those type men. Because you all are different, but y'all are not that different. It's probably about what 5 or 10 different personalities of men that we may see. So these are all in the book, and you learn this person, and you start you pray for this person, but you have to have a woman because this is what you're looking for. You're looking for a woman that has that, because right now, that a woman that is highly influenced by social media and all that stuff, that's not going to be the woman that you're going to be with. It's just not. But I, coming up, never was on social media. I never had a social media. I never did Facebook. I never did Instagram. I never did all of that. None of that. I always saw it as a big distraction. It was never something that I did. Now, I'm telling you this because these are some things you need to look for, or these are some questions that you need to ask. Like, what you think about social media? Would you be willing to give that up? If you met a man that, stuff like that. Or to find out if a woman is willing to sacrifice, ask her, are you even interested in being a wife? What does a wife, what does that mean to you? Do you know a wife's role? Because that's what you really want to know. If they know it, that means that they've studied it along the way. If they don't know it and you ask that question, they'd be like, what you mean? She's not the one. Because you are of age. Now, I don't know how old your women are that you're dating, but if a woman wants to be a wife, she knows these type of things because she's researched it. She's figured out how to poise herself, how to have virtue. She knows how to show up that way. And it's not a whole lot of questions. And as far as her being given, if you're a man and you're presenting yourself to me as a husband, having those qualities, sincere, honest, I mean, I got to tell you the truth. That's all it takes. I know the protection and the provision is there because we've already established that. I mean, a woman is going to go for that. A wife she's going to accept it. She's going to be like, okay, he's the one. He's good, and they're going to act accordingly. But if they're not ready to do that, then they're going to miss the whole thing. Like you said, they're going to miss it.
Well, I'll keep trying. I'm only 38. I'm only 38. So, but I do look back and I think, sometimes I feel like I made a mistake by retiring at 35. I look back at it and I'm like, professionally, yes, it was the best thing for me. I was very happy not having to work anymore. But then I looked at it and I'm like, I had much more success with women when I was working.
Yeah, but what kind of
Much more.
success? Dating? I mean,
No, I was in a relationship. We lived together. We had a child. I had much more. I had much more success. It was, it was after that relationship didn't make it. It's like, things got a little bit tougher, and now they're even more tough because my schedule is very flexible. You know, I can kind of just do whatever I want to do, go wherever I want to go. I was in Ghana 2 weeks ago. I just kind of go where you meet women who are working and career women, and they don't have that flexibility. You know what I mean? So
no, they don't. They don't.
I'm not going to give up. Obviously, I'm not going to give up, but I am. I don't want to use the word skeptical, but maybe that's the proper word. But I do tread very lightly, and I am looking for a certain type of woman. Obviously, the woman who wants to be a wife is number one, but how she goes about being a wife, and then there's another part of this is this marriage thing. To me, when I look at a marriage, I think roller coaster. I think valleys and peaks. I don't think you're going to get to the top and then that's it, and you're just going to stay there and you're just going to be great, all the time. I think at some point in time you're going to go through parts where you don't quite like each other, and there are going to times when you can't keep your hands off each other. And I'm ready. I'm fine with going on the ride, but I would want somebody who wants to go on the ride with me and understands that this is a ride, and there's just going to be times where we're just not. And that's one of the things I had a problem with in my previous relationships, where when the things got bad, it was like, I don't need this. I don't
So,
need this.
Trey, I got to ask you a question.
Sure,
What business do you know that goes on roller coasters?
all of them.
Give me a business that goes on roller coasters. You think Walmart goes on roller coaster
Yes.
rides?
When
Why would you
Walmart
say
when
that?
when Walmart first started, they did not have the success that they have now.
Of course. But since
And
they've been on the way up, they may not make 5 billion a quarter every quarter, but they still make 3 billion a quarter. How is that a roller coaster? That's just
because to us looking from the outside in, it looks like, well, they still made 3 billion a quarter. But if their projections are 5 billion, they didn't make it. That's a valley.
I mean, I don't know if it is or not. I'm just saying
No,
I
I'm,
don't
I'm just I'm
see.
saying I'm saying from a business standpoint, if my projection is 5 billion a quarter and I only made 3 billion, that's a valley for me because my
Okay.
projection was 5 billion.
So then guess what? If we're making a plan, what would your projection be? And we're a business, because that's what you said. What
Hmm.
would be your projection yearly? Nah, I'm gonna do yearly. Every 5 years for your marriage. I just you may not ever thought about that, but
Yeah,
just
that's
give me an
never even really
idea.
crossed my. I don't know.
See what I'm saying? You see why I
I've
tell you
never
it's
just
not a
never really
business.
crossed my mind.
You can't
No,
do that. I mean, I know people, listen, there are some aspects of marriage that is definitely business. I run over that with you, in the taxes and things that you have to do. This is true. But an organic, authentic relationship, things just happen. They just come at you. People may get ill. You may have to travel to Ghana. In-laws may have to move in. Who knows what? That's why I say you can't keep it. It's just not business. The things you sacrifice. I don't know many businesses that are sacrificing either, but sometimes they do have to take a hit to get restarted. I get it. But again, it's just so much more to it to be successful. Just like you said, when something happened, boom, y'all fell apart. You want the type of marriage that sustains. So
yes.
you got to have something foundation. There has to be something into that foundation that says, look, when we go hit a bump, we're going to just get back up, talk it out, communicate about it, maybe be mad a week, but we're going to continue to move on. And that is just communication from the beginning. Establish that, say just that. Listen, our deal breakers are, or we have no deal breakers,
Okay.
and just stay away from the deal breakers. Just
Okay.
establish everything in that plan up front, because you are an established man. So establish everything up front, discuss that plan, and it's going to be just like this. That way you can always revert back to what the initial plan was, and you can always see if you're on track.
Got it.
All right.
Appreciate
But
it.
I appreciate you, Stowe. I
Of
appreciate you,
course.
though. And I love the fact that you're in the grocery store.
Well, I was for the kids. It's not for me.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Trey.
Have a good one.
You